Hello, everybody. Welcome. Welcome to the web support Q&A. Thanks for joining us. Just going to wait another minute or two before we officially get started, just to let some people trickle in who may be joining us. Typically, these events are just really an open forum where people who might be needing some support with or looking for advice or guidance in a particular area of a web-related issue they might be having can come and ask questions to the group here and hopefully get some good answers, some feedback, point you in the right direction, or even schedule a call with one of the web heads that we're known as are here. So it's really sort of just whoever comes and whoever participates. That's typically how this works. We're not here to do any kind of particular dialogue on a subject unless it's brought up. Although we can certainly talk amongst ourselves, and I'm sure those who come will get some value. But what we're really looking to do is to hear from whoever's here today. Let us know who you are. Let us know what had you come today, any challenge you're working on, anything you want to share, and we can give you a chance to get some advice. And in the meantime, I'm just going to let us introduce ourselves to just kill another minute or two, just to make sure we don't start too late without anybody else joining us. My name is Joshua Lamothe. I'm the founder of Grassroots Consulting. And for about 15 years now, I've worked pretty closely with small business owners, individual entrepreneurs, and I've helped them to design their web presence, their messaging, some of their local marketing, and help them to connect with their best customers. And I also started the web heads, who are the people that you see here with these cool backgrounds. We are the web heads. We are a alliance of independent web developers, designers, strategists, and we have expertise in a variety of different areas, and we're available once a week. We do some form of a live event so that the customer base, like yourself, can get some education, some information, and ultimately meet the webheads, which I like to put first, because if you need help or support, it's really good to have a reliable, trustworthy webhead on your team, and we are that. And so thank you for joining us for those who just came. I'm just going to turn it over real quick to introduce the rest of the webheads. Let's start with Pia.
Hi, everyone. I'm Pia Civiletti from Centium Associates, and I work with my customers on building a strategy for their business that includes their branding, their marketing, website development, and any other kind of graphics or marketing that they may need to get their business out there and to develop their business, to get it going, and to put it in a position where it can then continue to grow.
Thanks, Pia. Robert.
I'm Robert Coxe. I have a Sylphian Design, specialized in environmental conservation websites, and also in blogging and accessible websites for ADA.
Thank you, Robert. Josh?
You're muted.
Yep.
You're on mute. There you go.
My name is Josh Collier from J&M Web Creations. I'm more on the technical side, so I do a lot of website hosting, website maintenance. I do build websites with WordPress mostly, a little bit on Shopify, and I'm also working on search engine optimization as well as automation of your business processes.
Fantastic. Thank you, guys. So we are just a portion of our team in total, but we're here today, like I said from the beginning, and I'll repeat it just for those who just joined us. We're here to basically answer any questions or concerns, or give advice and guidance, and even be able to offer support if anyone needs it. So I'll just start by saying, is there anyone here joining us who came for a very specific reason, who might have a question that you want to ask to open up the initial dialogue, or just introduce yourself in general? Sometimes people come just to hear what's going on, but of course, yeah, Cynthia,
Yeah, hi. I'm traveling. This is the first time you came across my radar, so now you're going to be in my calendar. Are the meetings always the same time? You said you do a web
Not always the
meeting.
same time. We have an average of one meeting a week. We have three different types of events primarily. This is one of the types of events. It's called the website Q&A. These, when they happen, do happen at this time. But we also have webinars and we have live discussion panels, and those can vary in the time. So the best thing to do is to check out uh, wherever you've found this one and see our upcoming
I
events. And
I
I can also
tripped
send a
over
link
you
to
on
Eventbrite.
Alignable, and I'm not there that often.
What I'll do is I'll share a link right now
Thank
to
you.
our event page in Eventbrite, which will, you could also use to register for our
Right.
upcoming events. I'll do that as we talk, or if someone else can grab that, whoever might have it handy, just the main event page for Webheads United would be good to put in the chat. But is there anything, Cynthia, while you're here that you're kind of struggling with, or
I'm
you have any questions?
I'm just getting started. I've hired some tech support from like Nigeria, trying to get me on Groove and get a WordPress site going. I'm trying to hook up a lot of things and juggling all those pieces in my mind. Um, so I foresee maybe visiting these Q&A events more than I have a very limited budget, so more than probably hiring US tech support, unfortunately, at this time. But I don't know how you guys charge either.
Yeah, we thank you. That number one, we're here to answer, any and all questions you might have. Like right now, even if it's a question about, how to better work with your web team. We're not necessarily attached that you work with us. I just want to make
Mhm.
that very clear. This is not an agenda-driven, sales-driven thing. It's about helping people. Each one of us has our own way of doing things, our own perspective, and typically, if you do think that one of us or all of us might be someone you want to consider working with, we offer one-on-ones. Every one of us will put at some point our contact information into the chat. In fact, Webheads, if you want to do that now, just so people have it, that's good. And so our charging and our pricing totally varies. One thing I will say is, and this is probably general advice too, is when you're looking to hire a web person, like I said, not everyone and not every company certainly is going to operate the same. So, we actually really encourage people to sort of shop around in a sense. And normally, it's kind of frowned upon because everybody in our industry wants to grab you as soon as they have you and sell you what we've got and tell you what we're the best. But the reality is, there's just too much of that going on, and too many people are getting misled. So we have a different approach. We are transparent, and we feel like if you shop around and look at us and consider all other options, you're going to end up with hopefully what's good for you. So
Right.
hopefully, Cynthia, that you're, in that process. Sounds like you're in that process of
Mhm.
figuring out who you're going to work with and
Yes.
how you're going to work with it. Yeah. Is there anything specifically that you in that process that you might need some advice or guidance on, just to make sure
At this
you're
point, no. As I said, I'm traveling, and yeah, my head isn't in these projects right now. It's just that, yeah, you appeared on my calendar now. I'll probably circle back in 2 weeks when I get home again and have questions, and I really appreciate you guys being here.
great? And we'll come back to in general some tips and some things about hiring a web developer if the conversation is sort of stagnant. But let's give another person a chance to
Thank you.
introduce themselves, say hello. Why'd you come here today, and what might you be looking for some kind of support with? Anybody want to volunteer? No questions for the question and answer. It happens. It's okay. I think a lot of people come and just want to poke around and see what's going on. So let's do that. And if anything we say comes up and you want to raise your hand, ask a question, you can ask it in the chat,
Well, let
or
me
you
try
can,
then, since
yeah, go ahead,
nobody's
Cynthia.
asking.
Yeah.
Okay. I know where I'm stuck at the moment. I have to spend some time there to get unstuck. Um, is I just started looking at Groove Mail, and I've been using Mailer Lite, and I've got kind of comfortable with, put a block here and a block there and a block, and setting up with the Groove was like all these templates to choose from. Where do I go? Do you have any advice on how to simplify the appearance of doing, yeah, Groove Mail.
I'll open that up to any web heads. Anybody here had experience with Groove Mail? No.
Thought I'd try. Thank you.
That's a good question. We don't know, and again, we don't always have the answers to everything. We haven't worked with every single solution. But what are your let's talk about your goals for a minute, just to see if it's the right thing. So why don't you share a little bit about Groove Mail and why you chose it and what you're looking for and what you're looking to do, and maybe that will help us
The
give
reason
you some
I
advice.
chose it is for frugality. I own a lifetime. So it's like, okay, well, I own it, so why not use it? And it seems like so many of the other people that I'm in programs with, working with, who also own Groove, have decided to, like, it's not worth it, shelve it, I'm gonna, go somewhere else. It was too confusing to learn, or for one reason or the other, they own it, but they're not using it. And as I said, I'm just getting started. So it's like, well, let me try to see if I can get going what I own. And I'm comfortable in the mailer light. It was simple enough for my brain. Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you. I mean, it's not something that we have direct experience with. Is that a CMS program? I'm just quickly looking at it. When you say Groove, is it a
Looks like
I
email
don't know what
marketing.
CMS
email
is.
marketing, right? Yeah, Groove Mail.
Well, I mean, I think you could even pull back from there and just, regardless of what application you're using for doing email marketing, the best thing is to have a plan outside of it. And you could do an Excel or Word or whatever, and just figure out, what are the different groups that you're going to have? What kind of promotions are you having? Categorize those and the type of people that you're going after for those type of, programs. And then determine, when you send emails out, how are you sending emails out? How frequently are you going to send emails out? And what are those emails going to say? Because it's best if you have it planned out, even like a flow chart kind of method, to say that, once someone fills out this particular form, I send them this email. And in 3 days, I send them this email and offer them this. And then in 5 days, I do this. And having all that written out makes it a lot easier than to put it into the tool.
Thank you. Yeah, I've actually started doing that. I appreciate that, Pia. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Pia. That's really an overlooked aspect. A lot of people tend to start with the software or start with the tool, and they're not really clear on, well, what am I even using this tool for specifically? And somehow it's probably human nature. We just don't often do the planning to determine if the tool is the right tool for the job, because we're too focused on the tool. So I'm not saying that's you, Cynthia. I'm just saying in general, it's good. Pia's advice is excellent in terms of what you're saying. And in general, when you're working with any kind of web tools, is to know what is it that you want to achieve. Number one, what is the results that you're looking for? That number one, and obviously creating the system backing up, so that you can ensure that you maximize your chance of achieving those results. And if then you have that, you can find a tool. Does it accomplish what I need to accomplish or not? And then you can look at, of course, budget and functionality. Some of these tools have way more than you need, way more than you need, especially when
Right.
you're just getting
More than
started,
I want
right?
to learn.
And it may cause confusion, it may cause anxiety, it may cause stress. And the reality is, if you were very clear on what you needed in the first place in terms of strategy, you may realize there are simpler solutions out there that can get the job done. So anyone else want to add in general to that? That's actually a really good point, having to do with strategy and planning and even email marketing. Robert, Josh, you want to share anything?
Yes. I was going to say, if you're just doing email marketing, a fairly simple tool I found was Email Octopus. You can look that one up. It pretty much just does email marketing and doesn't have all the other little frilly things that makes it confusing with the others.
Thanks, Robert.
The other thing I would say and some of them do it really well. I know, like Go High Level or High Level, I think, is another one that's kind of like this Groove. Sometimes when they do branch out in a million different things, they don't do the one thing you want well. can be a problem with those. They have so many different focuses. Like a lot of these will make a landing page or a website for you. They're probably going to be real restrictive on what you can do compared to if you get a website done here, a WordPress site, and then you use MailerLite or MailChimp or one of these others specifically. So sometimes that can be an issue in they have so many irons in the fire all over the place. They're trying 50,000 different things. I'm not saying this one is bad or good. Just that sometimes they'll be real limited. They want to throw everything out there so they can get a base of people. So then they can basically not have as much stuff on each one as a specific one like a MailerLite. So they may not have as many integrations and stuff like that as you need. That's not to say it won't work. If you're doing something really simple and it works and you have the lifetime of it, use it. And some of them may have better sendability on emails and stuff too than others. So you might want to play with that, test that.
All right, great. We could probably go a little bit deeper in the conversation around strategy and planning. I think that's something that a lot of people can benefit from. But before we do that, we had some new people join us. Is there anybody else? Well, first of all, welcome to the new people who join us. I see Charles, I see Beth, I see Lena. Would anyone like to come off mute and introduce themselves and just sort of explain, what had you come here today? And if there's anything that you're either looking for support in or any advice you'd like to give, we'd be more than happy to hear from you. Raise your hand or just come right off mute.
Well, I jumped in just to see what you guys were talking about. So I don't really need support, but definitely a topic that we talk about in my business. I put in there Miro boards. We start everything and work through every project on a Miro board, just because it allows us to fully map out our exact process. We turn it into an SOP. I mean, it helps us, and that way all our team members can look at it. They can add in their own comments and rework parts of the workflow, of whatever we're building, whether it's a automation process or email campaign, or what's going to happen when they go to this page and fill out the form. What's the next step? What happens as a result of that? It's just a really powerful tool. And it's not crazy hard to learn. There's more complicated. It has a ton of features, don't get me wrong. But just from its basic use, you can get a lot out of it. And then around the email, if you're looking to do a lot of email, especially cold email, which I think a lot of people think they have a warm email list, but really they have a cold email list. Instantly has been one that I've seen perform exceptionally well, because it allows multiple mailboxes. You can smart rotate out of those mailboxes, so you're keeping your email reputation higher. It does all the verification of all the emails for you inside the platform, and you can set out those personalized emails in a really smart sequence based off of events, so you can really build out a strong campaign. And that's all they do is email. So
Great, thank you, Charles. That's helpful. Yeah, any tools that anybody wants to share? I see you put it in the chat. That's great, Charles. If I don't know if you have links directly to those websites to provide, that would be good too, for if you could find them. But yeah, I mean, there's so many tools out there to help with automation, and it can be overwhelming. I totally understand from the perspective of someone who's a novice. So it's always good for us to be able to recommend places for people to maybe start. Thank you, Charles. Anything else you want to share, Charles, about yourself or what you do? Sounds like you're in the digital marketing world.
Yeah, I run a CRM company.
Great. Well, thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
And for those, I'll do another quick intro for those who just joined us. We are the WebHeads. We are a collaborative of independent web developers or digital professionals. And we come together pretty much once a week to do various forms of educational events. Our goal is really just to be available to answer questions the best we can. We don't know everything about everything, but we certainly will tell you when we don't know something, and we certainly will be transparent about what we do know. So we're just trying to be a resource for the community, because we all have clients and we empathize with people who are just getting started, or people who are maybe trying to do things on their own and hitting walls and stumbling blocks. Maybe you've hired a company and they've done, less than satisfactory work, and you're just looking to sort of pick up the pieces. We understand that kind of stuff, and we just want to be sharing our knowledge with you. Thank you, Charles. See a couple other people. Beth or Lena, welcome. If you'd like to come off mute and share a little bit about yourself and what had you come, that would be fantastic. No pressure. Just want to make sure that everybody, kind of gets what they maybe came here for.
Does Beth want to go? I don't know if she was here before I was.
First come, first serve, I suppose. So Lena, if you'd like to go right ahead. And Beth, if she'd like to, can go next.
I'm fine. I'm just listening. Thank you.
Okay, Beth, thank you.
I'm actually the same, Beth, to be honest with you. Yeah, I've come here to learn, to listen, to be inspired, and then to take action. So I actually run a bootstrapped WordPress site that empowers those experts and knowledge-driven professionals to turn what they know into cash flow. So it's at empowerbusinessclub.com. It's my third online platform. And so I'm looking for advice on helping clients, future and prospective clients, to utilize WordPress in particular to generate a sort of automated platform. So if you are the ones that I may want to look at in terms of a potential resource, I'm happy to sort of listen to what you know, and that may help me to help future clients to develop their online platform.
Thank you for sharing, and thanks for being here. Pretty much everybody here that's a WebHead, at least, our go-to platform of choice is WordPress. So we all have some level, some of us 10, 15, 20 years experience working with that platform, and various, obviously, plugins and things like that around it. So we are a resource. I mean, each and every one of us is available to have a conversation with, to figure out what your needs are, where there could be an opportunity for partnership. So feel free, if you'd like to, if you prefer one-on-ones to do that, you can certainly schedule one-on-ones with each one of us. Is there any particular, Lena, is there any particular area that you might want us to go in with the conversation? We're here for you all. Without the questions, we don't really have any answers. So if you want to guide us in a certain direction with a question, we can just start there and see where it goes.
Yeah, I've got one question. I'm utilizing, in particular, on the design front of things, and when it comes to WordPress and utilizing Elementor, it's becoming a bit rigid at the moment. It's just getting weird. And it's great in terms of, being able to sort of develop a site really quickly. But do you know of any other plugins that would help you to sort of create a website really quickly, utilizing WordPress, that doesn't react so clunkily, if that's a word?
So what are you trying to do? Because I mean, most of us use Elementor. I've been using it for years. So what are you trying to do that you're unable to do with Elementor?
I'm not saying I'm unable to do it, but I'm noticing if you're sharing a page on, say, for example, an Elementor page, it shows up on Twitter as Elementor in the actual description, and it doesn't look as clean as it should do. So that's just one example. I mean, I find it fine. If you go to empowerbusinessclub.com, it's what I'm utilizing at the moment, but it's just something that I noticed over the time. And if you are aware of another plugin that doesn't do that, because WordPress is becoming really good in terms of developing out a designed platform now. So maybe I should stick with Elementor and then move on to converting what I've got into the WordPress design featured platform that it's becoming now. It's just an observation with Elementor.
Yeah, I actually don't use Elementor. I'm one of the few that uses Divi. Is one of the other ones. They're all gonna have their own little goofy
Tweaky thing.
things about them, and
Yeah.
I agree with that. Divi, I know all the goofy things because I use it so often, so I can get around them and stuff. And so I personally like that better. Elementor I've used and worked on sites with, and I think it's quite good. I don't have any real issues with it. But kind of on your specific one, like Tom is actually saying in the chat, rank math is, or even Yoast or any of the search engine optimization, the SEO plugins, that's really going to be where you get the meta descriptions, how your images are going to look on Facebook when you send them to Facebook. And so really it may be more than the Elementor issue. It may be more of a you need a good SEO plugin that will
You're
give
probably
you
right.
options to do that. There's a couple of them. The main one I use now is Rank Math. I've used Yoast in the past. It doesn't have as many features anymore on its free plan as Rank Math does. So that's the one I would recommend. But yeah, they have options in there for each page to put exactly the image you want to use on Facebook and like Twitter. And that probably should convert to a lot of the other social media sites because they use often the same thing that they pull basically it's in the head of the site. So
that's so
yeah,
useful, Josh. Thank you. And that's obviously a plugin on WordPress.
Yes.
Yeah, you want some SEO plugin. There's all-in-one SEO. There's Scrolly. I haven't used it. There's Yoast, Rank Math. There's probably a million others, but those are kind of the main ones I've heard.
All right, thank you so much. I haven't heard of Rank Math, so yeah, and I need obviously this SEO. That's obviously the issue here, the fact that I don't have on every single page an SEO generated description and the image so that it knows what to send to Twitter. So I didn't realize that, and yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, that's great. That's a good pivot. Oh, go ahead, Robert.
Oh, I was going to say, I guess I'm one of the few that uses Gutenberg, and I also use Rank Math, and Rank Math does really well with Gutenberg and shows you, as Josh was saying, what it looks like on the social media, and you can add snippets and SEO descriptions and keywords and whatnot. It's a very good plugin.
Thanks,
Excellent.
Robert.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and we do have people on this team that are more proficient than others in SEO, that if you really would like some referrals about who might be good to talk to support with the SEO, Lena, feel free to reach out, and we can get you some good good support there. But it's a really critical area, especially it sounds like your website is helping others promote their business or organization. I sort of missed who your clients were, but it sounds like you're helping other people in their marketing.
Yeah, basically helping other people like consultants and advisors to develop out their own business online.
Right. So for you to be able to, have an understanding of some of those tools that have to do with SEO is probably a very important value that you can offer them. Not all people, especially coaches, consultants, not all people are going to rely on search engines primarily for their marketing. Yeah. Believe it or not, some things are not heavily searched, that it's not the best strategy for you. However, exactly. In your niche, most likely there is definitely some specialized service providers that could benefit from you being able to offer them SEO support. So we're here to help, how we can be of service to you.
I'll put in my my scheduling tool. Have you got one? I'm happy to schedule in a one-to-one.
Yes, we do offer that. Usually 20-30 minute calls, just quick calls to sort of get to know each other and answer some questions and look at your site a little bit deeper maybe, or give you some strategic advice or direction. So feel free to book a call with each and every one of us here if you'd like. That goes for everybody as well. Anything else, Lena, we could provide? Otherwise, Beth said she doesn't have any particular questions. I see David's here. I don't know if David wants to say hello and ask a question. The more
Say
questions we
hello.
have, the more we can go. Yeah, David.
And I'll say thank you, Pia. She's been my mother hen. It's more like psychoanalyst, but we've been talking about some things and had changes going on and putting all the pieces together, and that's what we've been doing. But she's been very good and helpful with me, and I would guide anybody in her direction too. So that's what I want to say.
Thanks, David.
Thank you, David. We take plugs. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's funny you said that because psychoanalyst, I think you said I don't know about you all, but I find myself oftentimes when working directly with business owners playing some kind of a therapist role, entrepreneur to an entrepreneur, ups and downs and twists and turns, and somehow we become a trusted source oftentimes as a secondary part of our job. But when people are business owners, you're putting a lot of yourself out there. And especially when you're creating something that's new in the world, like what Lena was describing probably doesn't exist until she's birthing it. And David, you too. So, there's certain levels of, things that come up when you're dealing with that. But that's the challenge of the entrepreneur, and that's the joy of the entrepreneur too. So,
yeah, because there is one thing too that
yeah.
I picked up from corporate way back. You were talking about getting software, then working forward on that. Well, one of the things you should do, identify the problem first before you can create the solution, because that's the biggest thing. People don't know what they want to do, what problems they have, and then you can get the tools to do that. I just wanted to mention that.
Completely agree with you, David. I didn't do that when I created empowerbusinessclub.com, and I was scraping around for clients now. I've got a new business that I'm looking at, and I'm looking at product market fit before I actually build out the solution to gain the first cohort of clients. So I completely agree with you.
Thank you.
Well, I think that goes back to when we're talking about strategy, and if no matter what your question is, or what point of the process you're in, going back to strategy or having individual strategies for the different areas of your business, having a marketing strategy, when you're going to build a website, what is your strategy for that? Having an overall business strategy, again, email marketing, whatever, going back to that planning phase and actually writing it out instead of opening up an application and trying to build something that you haven't thought through yet is actually way more difficult than sitting down and talking through in just logical terms how you want things to flow. And I think it's really, a lot of business owners make that mistake where they start doing things, or they just get a website built, they just throw stuff on, and then they come back later saying, why isn't anything working? Or why am I not getting clients? I'm not getting traffic. So, then you have to go back to the drawing board and say, okay, what am I doing now? And who am I? Who am I going after? And how do I want to go after that particular group of people? Is, some very few of the points that you want to go through. And that's what every single thing that you do. So every campaign or new functionality that you want to push out in your business, you always need to go back to the drawing board and say, well, is a functionality worth it? Why am I doing it? Who am I doing it for? And what do I want to get out of it? Which is something that a lot of people after the fact go to look at reporting, and then look at the reporting and say, well, I don't even know what to do with this, because they didn't know what they wanted to get out of it in the first place. So then the reporting isn't as impactful. So that's another point, is to know what you want to get out of something. So.
Thank you, Pia. Yeah, so probably can't emphasize that enough. Even I'm thinking even us here as a group, that this format that we've created, it came out of understanding our clients and what some of their needs are. One particularly is the need to actually have good, honest, reliable advice from actual human beings, and getting a lot of you know, YouTube videos and email campaigns and people piling on the comments when they try to ask questions, and which is causing more stress. So we as a collective understood that, there's a need for this format, and therefore we created this format. And then, therefore, as a result, when we get our metrics back, typically we have surveys, we get very positive reviews. Well, it's just mirroring the understanding that we had in the beginning, and then we've built the system and the structure from there to best accommodate. And we're still working through it, but it's kind of an example of how you all showed up as a function of some strategy here. We didn't just decide, wouldn't it be fun to create an event? And so I think, everybody can benefit to see, how does your web presence play into your business plan, but it may not be your business plan. And a lot of people, I think, say, well, if I have a website, I have a business plan. If I have a website, I'm saying something, I'm doing something. Why aren't people showing up? It's beyond the website. The website's a tool to use in a plan. Or when I say website, I mean, perhaps all digital tools. Yeah. Josh, you want to add anything to any of that?
No, I do see that Charles had a question in the chat. So I'll just I can kind of take that. Any of you have experience with Flowmatic? I did just look at it. I actually haven't used Flowmatic. I've used Bit Integrations that is quite similar to that. And personally, I love automations and I love messing with things. I use a bunch of different ones. Things called RPAs that allow you to go on to other websites, click buttons, do different things, and automate all kinds of processes. I haven't used Flowmatic, though it looks like quite an interesting tool that basically does a lot of what Bit Integrations does. So yeah, anything you can use to, I would say, automate your business is obviously going to save you time and money. You may not have to hire someone to do that process of whatever it is, but any type of automation really that works. I would say with automation, you have to remember you need to have a for sure workflow of what you're exactly doing, or it's not going to work. If you don't know your workflow from the beginning of what you want to do, it's going to be very tough to make that work. And it needs to be something that's basically done the same exact way every time, is kind of what I would say with automations. If it goes in a different direction based on stuff, sometimes you can implement that in there, but most of the time you're gonna need a flow that's the same every time.
I was going to say it'll be good to see what each of you are working on, so we can see your capabilities. So I know my capabilities, but it would be great to see what you're working on right now, to see how you turn something into something that actually works for the client.
That's a good conversation for our one-on-ones. Absolutely.
Okay.
So we can get and I'm not saying we could go into that, but I think it's definitely a good chance for us to share with you our approach, how we work, what we offer, what makes us unique, those kinds of things, and maybe even show some real-time examples of things to you as well, Lena, because that's a good use of our time, especially where perhaps we could be a resource for you and your clients. I mean, building partnerships is really an important part of what we're out to do. One-off clients are fantastic. We all need them. But when we can help an organization help their clients, it's much better for us as independent developers, obviously, to have that kind of a reach and access to new projects, but also that it takes a lot of the or some of the the burdens off of you by having a reliable partner you can trust to work with for you and your clients.
I love that. Well, I'll put my cal.com. It's an alternative to Calendly. I'm sure everyone's heard of Calendly. but this is another source that I use. So I'll put that in the chat. So I might have to head off now, but thank you so much.
Thank you, Lena. Thank you for being here. All right, we've got about 20 minutes on the schedule. We will go as far as the questions come. This has been a pretty great conversation. I hope you've all gotten some value so far. What I'd like to do real quickly is post a link to, because Lena just mentioned getting in touch with us. So what I would like to do is put a quick link to our directory, although I just realized I didn't update it. So I'll do that in the meantime, but I want to make sure everybody sees in the chat that we've all put our contact info there. Unfortunately, I didn't update the directory before this call. But we'll make sure we get in touch with everybody who's here. And if you have any questions, you can certainly reach out to us directly in the chat. Anybody else have anything else they'd like to share or say? Comments, questions? Charles, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, going back to the Flowmatic. So Flowmatic approached us asking if we'd be interested in them being in our app marketplace. So my question is more from a WordPress development standpoint. Do you find that, I mean, because I know a lot of times that WordPress sites can feel very disconnected to company systems, depending on how big or small that company is and what tools they have already implemented. You know, and scarily enough, I've seen enough WordPress sites that go to, hey, here's your lead in your email, that you don't check but every 6 hours, because they have nowhere to put a lead other than in a WordPress site and straight to their email. So from a building, because WordPress to me is not just a website, it is a system in itself, and it's a huge operating part of a business. Do you feel like Flowmatic would be a useful tool if it was a quick connect to a CRM? So that way you didn't have to necessarily mess with all, hey, my CRM offers these forms. Can you try to get them to work in a WordPress site, which we know how frustrating that can be at times. But being able to use native forms and surveys and different tools that are natively plugged into WordPress and be able to connect that to, you know, have something on your side that you can play with and just seamlessly connect from a WordPress development side of it. You know, does that help you guys? Does it make a difference? You know, as more and more people pull away from Zapier because of outrageous pricing, you know.
Well, from my perspective, I think it depends on the client and what they need to connect to. So, you know, I have a particular client that connects to 2 different types of CRM tools, and but I found it easier, and trying to be obviously cost effective for my client, is to use the tool that, you know, the 2 different, one is Klaviyo, and you know, they have separate different ways of connecting. And I found it pretty easy to go into Klaviyo, create, you know, a process, a form connection or whatever, and get the code and then put it into Elementor. It worked really easy. So I didn't need to go outside of that. But there are, you know, depending on the client, there may be tools or systems that are more complicated or did not build an easy, you know, API or coding in between each other, that obviously anything like, you know, Zapier or Workflow or whatever would be helpful with. So I always look at what we're using and what they're connecting to first, and then determine whether I need an outside tool or it's native to that particular client that I can use.
Understood. Thank you.
Yeah, I would kind of agree with that. A lot of times, like I actually, one client, she has tons of Zapier stuff that I've done for her, all kinds of different automations. But I use Make. I'll use that. I've used IFTTT a little bit. This bid integrations is a lot like that other one. I use RPAs for different things. Like I have a couple of those. So it all is dependent on what the client needs. A lot of
Right.
times, like there might be 3 or 4 ways to do an automation. So then going and researching what's going to be the easiest, what's going to be the most cost effective. And then also some of the RPAs that I use, they're not as like a Zapier is always going to work. It's going to boom, 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 always, and it just works. RPA, if something changes on a website and something as small as a little class website, like the class in there changes a CSS class, it can mess up your whole flow. So those require more time to keep them, upkeep of them. And if they're custom ones for one person, then it can take a long time. So it may be the best way, but it may not work as well in the long run.
Yeah.
So that's kind of, I go with what the client needs and really figure out what I need after that.
Gotcha.
All right, thank you.
Well, I appreciate the input. You know, it's just it's more, you know, the client would probably never even touch it. It would be more for whoever's developing the WordPress. And we're in Zapier and Pabbly and Make and API Nation, and you know, we provide webhooks in and out, custom post, catch. You know, I mean, we can pretty much do anything with any data, but sometimes people like that little graphical interface. Everybody has a different style. Like me, I can't stand Make. Oh gosh, shoot me before you make me use Make. I hate it. It's just the UI of it. It drives me insane. I feel like I'm in a coloring book. You know, but that's just me. So everybody has their own, you know, feel for things. So that's why I like getting feedback when I can. So
That's great. Thanks, Charles. That's what we're here for, just to have a dialogue, and we have different perspectives, and hopefully, you know, just hearing other perspectives will get some clarity, and that's all we're trying to do. So all questions are great. Anyone else? Or anything else from you, Charles, or anyone else? Just want to make sure we exhaust our time here with making sure everybody is heard and gets something of value. If not, we'll probably start wrapping up. Do any of the web heads have anything else they want to say? Final thoughts on anything we talked about?
Satya joined late, so I don't know if is he or her. I don't know if it's incognito there. If there's a question that Satya may have.
Good point. We did have another guest, Satya, join us. Satya, welcome. If you're there and you do have a question, feel free to chime in. If not, that's okay too. However, hearing no more questions, we'll start to wrap today up. I'm going to post a link, like I mentioned, in the chat, just so everybody has. Thank you, Satya. And this way you'll have a direct link to each and every one of us, should you want to capture that. I think Lena left, who was interested, but she's not here. But anyway, that'll be there. Thank you guys for joining us once again. And we do have these kinds of events every week. They're not all open like this. Some are webinars where we're actually speaking on different subjects where you can get some valuable information. There's a Q&A portion to every event we do. So, you know, feel free to come again. And if you do have a question, we can always address it. And then we also have discussion panels. So the best way right now, while our own website is in development, to find out our next events is to probably go where you just found this event. One of them would be Inalignable on the website support group. That's where you can see our upcoming events. Or if you look through the chat, there is a link to a Eventbrite that we have our most current events listed there as well. So hopefully we'll see you again, and best of luck with all your web-related endeavors. And we thank you again for coming on behalf of all the web heads. And we'll see you next time. Thanks for being here.
Bye, everyone.
see you guys.
Yeah.
Have a good day, Tom.